Good morning, everyone. Your Excellency, Dr. Hamina, representative of Honorable Minister Dr. Jamal Eddin Gharbi, Minister of Regional Development and Planning of Tunisia. Colleagues, representatives of the African Union Commission, UNECA, and the UN institutions, honorable ministers, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, all protocol observed. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you to this important event. As we all know, the upcoming 2013 report on assessing progress towards the Millennium Development Goals will be instrumental not only in evaluating Africa's progress, but also in drafting the post-2015 development agenda. During last month's meeting of multilateral development banks in Washington, D.C., President Donald Kaberuka, President of the African Development Bank, highlighted that the year 2015 should be the year in which access to basic education, healthcare, as well as water and sanitation are achieved, while emphasizing that these achievements should be permanently sustained in the post-2015 era. There are some notable results in accelerating the achievement of MDGs in Africa. As you all know, 13 out of 20 top performance for accelerating progress on MDGs indicators are in sub-Saharan Africa. In spite of these advancements, significant challenges exist. Africa remains the poorest continent, which has the highest fertility rates, lowest labor productivity, lowest education learning achievements, and poorest access to essential medicines. Of even greater concern is the fact that none of the Africa fragile states are expected to achieve any of the MDGs by 2015. The continent requires a big push over the next 3 years to significantly accelerating achievements and achieving the MDGs. We need to keep in mind that failure to do so would diminish the credibility of any post-2015 commitments. While we focus on areas of weak performance, we also need to maintain progress on good performing goals. Although not every country in Africa can reach the target, every African country can certainly go further and faster. This is also the time for Africa to set its priorities for the post-2015 development agenda. Economic, social, and environmental sustainability must be at the heart of this agenda, while developing options for long-term financing and strengthening coordination with our global partners. We must also keep in mind that the aid landscape is changing, with the emergence of the so-called new donors, new forms of finance, and increased role for the private sector. It is thus critical for African countries to strengthen current partnerships and make new ones to ensure that the continent's poorest countries achieve sustainable economic growth. Ladies and gentlemen, I have 4 keys to share with you today. First, the post-2015 priorities and goals should be built on the foundation of the MDGs, since they have far-reaching objectives and a broad legitimacy, putting the world's poorest people on the global agenda. They also have positive impact in terms of focusing on results through clearly defined targets. Second, Africa should be ahead of the game. This has 2 dimensions. It is important for us to make sure that priorities are carefully selected while focusing on a core set of principles. These could include sustainable and inclusive growth, increased trade and investment, human capital development, and stronger leadership and good governance. It is also critical to ensure that the voice of Africa is heard and accepted during the formulation of the post-2015 development agenda. The final global outcomes require not only defining our priorities, but also formulating goals and targets that are relevant to Africa's context. Third, the consultative processes need to be aligned to ensure a more successful outcome. We need to have common and clear answers to respond to the critical questions, which include how to frame Africa's 2015 priorities within the global perspective, how to address the competing priorities in a challenging global aid architecture, and how to coordinate the overall process. Fourth, the post-2015 development agenda and the sustainable development goal should not be seen as two candidates running for an election, whether derived from the Rio +20 conference or developed as a successor of the MDGs. The world needs one set of goals and targets that bind us together through a shared commitment. The African Development Bank is expanding its infrastructure for access to economic opportunities and essential services. Our support to our member states enhance employment opportunities, productivities, improve governance, and development of service delivery institutions that will significantly contribute to economic growth and the welfare of the African society. We believe that our support contributes significantly to the progress Africa has achieved on the MDGs so far, although much more needs to be done. The bank has joined, as has been highlighted by a number of my colleagues who spoke ahead of me, the bank has joined hand with the African Union Commission, with the Economic Commission of Africa, and with the UNDP Regional Bureau for Africa to facilitate the consultation process and build consensus on the post-2015 development agenda. The four key institutions have initiated a series of processes, including regional and national consultations of all key stakeholders, aimed at articulating an African common position on the post-2015 development agenda. 2 sub-regional consultative meetings have so far been conducted, one in East and Southern Africa countries and North and Central Africa and West African countries. This is a continent-wide consultation that we are hosting today. This continent-wide meeting will articulate an African common position on the post-2015 agenda, which will be presented at to the Conference of Ministers of Economic Development, Finance and Planning, as well as the AU Heads of State during the upcoming summit in July 2013 for endorsement. I wish to emphasize before I close that this has to be a country-owned process. So we should take time to ask the right questions, to listen to what our African regional member countries want to see, and that we are able to also build on the outcome of the 3 previous consultative meetings, which have enriched very much the report that is going to be presented to all of us to prime the discussion that we will have over the next couple of days. I wish to emphasize that we need to build on what has achieved, refine what is being proposed, and we leave this 2 days meeting with a greater ownership of the report that will be presented to the ministers and to the heads of state for endorsements. Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I wish to thank each and every one of you and wish you a very fruitful discussion and deliberation. Thank you very much.